It's time, you guys.
Folks, it's the World
It is
Championship. Top 8.
This is the moment you've
The
all
round
been
of
waiting
8.
for.
Look at this mat, by the way.
Look at this Matt Jourdain. Look
Look
at him go. This is Matt Jourdain.
Starting with his 3 energy, gets a sidekick +2. He's going to take a 2 cost. He's fine with that. He has Wong on his team. Over to Mr. Robert. I got to see a few of the end of Robert's games. He's been hovering around the top table tonight. He does field a sidekick, makes it into a bolt, and buys that Iceman turn 1. Turn 1, Iceman. It's going to be going for the jugular pretty quickly here. Let's see how Matt chooses to combat that.
Fields a sidekick.
Sidekicks are good, especially when you're running a sidekick-heavy team.
Yep. So if we're breaking down their teams, we see this is basically just an Iceman versus a go wide, make all your stuff giant, and kill you team.
Yep.
I think I should find a way to shorten the title for that.
I call it Atlantis Explosion, is what I call that team.
That's way cooler.
Because once you get that Atlantis chaining those sidekicks and then the Black Widows buffing your entire field, things just explode very quickly.
Agreed.
Another
Okay,
sidekick here from Robert. He is going to spin that down into a bolt, buy a Shriek, and resurrect.
So in the bag, he has Shriek, Iceman, 3 sidekicks.
There we go.
Which means
a perfect draw.
He's going to draw Shriek, Iceman, and 3 sidekicks in his clear and draw step. Popping on over, we got a sidekick in the prep that's going to be added because we assume that he rezzed last turn as well. And Wong comes up, sidekick comes up, mask.
Atlantis would be fabulous here.
Oh, wow, but doesn't land it.
The flopping
What a bummer.
fish.
This has the potential to just explode for some damage, but it just doesn't. Doesn't get off right now.
Yep, one roll away from essentially emptying your bag and
Yes.
a Black Widow pumping everything.
Indeed, you could have bought a lot there, but unfortunately,
He's gonna salvage this though. Gonna resurrect to roll 5 next turn. And
okay.
They have the sheet up.
Spins that over to a bolt, using the bolt fixer, and just pushing it all, dealing some damage, moving it right along. Oh, and the draw comes, like we talked about, Shriek, Iceman. He's got all of his stuff stacked up. Look, so he can use that nice little die tray. So his cards over there on the right are kind of stacked up strange. Rolls the Shriek. Oh, gets the Shriek. So he lands Shriek and lands Iceman. Gonna pay 2 to field. I don't think you let either of those go to waste. That would be bonkers. That would be really strange. Pay to field the Iceman. Yeah, he may not. I mean, maybe he chooses not to field the Shriek and let it cycle. His bag right now is just 4 sidekicks if he uses some sort of a resurrection global. Fielding said sidekick allows him to keep that bag thin, but he could fix it as well. He has the ability to make a sidekick as well, so he can make a bolt. He can make a sidekick. Technically, he could have a bunch of damage on his own by just pushing that Iceman and paying the 2 bolts, but field's empty, so really up to him. The best play, it looks like, is just leave it all there and say pass, which is right about what you'd want to do. Looks like there was a ping out with the global there. The Magic Missile Global pinged out the sidekick so that he has to re-roll a sidekick next turn and push with it. Otherwise, he'd have to push with Iceman itself or with Shriek. And I don't believe he's running a Blinkback Global on that team. Yeah, it doesn't look like he is. Okay, single sidekick, re-rolls that along with the other sidekick die. Comes up with 5 energy. He might have needed just some straight up characters there. That might have been better. Buys a Shriek, passes over. So he looks like he's going to go and grab his Shriek. Bunch of energy, rolling it up. Got to get some bolts. Got to get some question marks. That's definitely what you're looking for. Bolts and question marks. Yes, I know the life counter is gone, and unfortunately I can't get it back until probably after this first round, I might have them try to pause and get that back. Nevertheless, we're going to keep on plugging away. We'll keep an eye on their life totals. They're on the right, top right. We've got the 13 life total there. And we'll keep our eyes out as well. So we've got 4 question marks. Oh, good God. He's going to pay 2 for the Yanti Pure Blood Super Rare. Or not Super Rare. That would be hilarious. It's just the common. But it's going to be pretty good going forward as an alternate win condition. Okay, continuing to press on. We've got Shake It Up, Roll It Up. Shake it up, roll it up again because you didn't get your characters. This is where you really want characters. Oh, and this is the second time in a row that he has not had Atlantis roll. I saw someone in the chat post, it's top 8. This is when the bad rolls come up. And this is the second time that Atlantis has not hit. You do have a blocker here, but against a burn team, you don't really care about a blocker because they don't really care about pushing physical damage. They just want to push the Iceman burn damage. So from this point, you want to keep your bag fixed, which means you need to something like make a sidekick and then prep with Resurrection. I think you can make 2 sidekicks. I can't remember if there's I don't think there's a Professor X on the other side. We can look at it rotate around, which would be pretty interesting. And we've got Bolt and passes on over. Pass priority, and I believe he ended the turn. So they moved a life counter so that we can kind of keep track. 20 to 13 is what it appears to be. Pushes the Wong, trying to get it to go through. And he chooses to block with Iceman. And Iceman should deal that damage blocked. See how he chooses. They obviously are blocking. And KOs. All right, reloading the used pile into the bag. He had to refill, so he has 4. This doesn't appear to be one of those crazy kind of I get a bunch of bolts turn and just win, but it is quite possible that happens. The life total is definitely still 18 to 13, but you can just go off with teams like this. So you always have to be aware. And so this team composition is super interesting for an Iceman team. You see it's Iceman, but it's also Rare Collector there in the top right when he switches back. Rare Collector makes this super duper interesting because if he ever feels like he has the time to just dip for that, then you can basically play your opponent's removal options against them by just purchasing them for the 1 and bringing them in and keeping your opponent just off kilter even more. He's got Yanti Pureblood as well for a backup win condition. So there's a lot of ways that this team can just get to 20, right? Very, very dangerous overall. So it looks like an Iceman, but it could be anything. He's going to push with a Shriek here. I wonder if he wants the Shriek out of the field so that he can maybe cycle and Shriek something new. But he definitely needs to push with something so that he can trigger the Iceman effect. He's going to pop for 2. Then he's going to pop for 2. And then he's going to pop for 2. And notice you keep seeing a global move across being paid for. And I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, he is able to pay Samantha Wilson's Shield Global to reduce that damage to 1 instead of to 2. So it after you take a damage, you can then react to that by reducing it to 1 instead of 2. So instead of bleeding damage like crazy, instead of taking 6, you only take 3, and that is solid. So it's currently 13 to 12. Still a close game, and this is not going to take a super long time, it would appear. But we assumed that a little while ago, and it just turned out not to be the case, where both teams just ended up sort of stalling out. They got their control pieces and just sort of hit the stall button and didn't deal any more damage. So fielding your own Shriek, we can imagine he's shrieking the Iceman. Looks like he did indeed shriek the Iceman. And continuing on, he has to consider if he wants to push that damage. See if he tries to push. He does indeed try to push. And it doesn't look like he brought Insect Plague, so there is a chance to block that, and he did. Shriek is Shrieking Iceman, so even if Iceman blocks there, it's not going to matter because that ability is blanked. Rerolls the Iceman right away, which is really good for him because you do need to keep that in the field and find some way to remove the Shriek. Thrown Brick plus Yanti's trigger would do it, but unfortunately that's not going to be in the cards for him this time because Yanti obviously didn't roll here. Fields up the 1 sidekick, going to pay 1 energy to field up the 1/3/6 side. He could technically just Magic Missile, or first you would probably want to play the Thrown Brick and hit the Shriek for 1. I believe it's a 2/2 Shriek. So you'd get to prep there, and then you could Magic Missile a second time, and that would take it off the board. But generally, it's a 3/3, so no, you'd have to dump everything into it all at once. So the question is, do you spin those 2 bolts right now and get rid of the Shriek and then have them re-roll it next turn? Or do you forego that and wait till their turn and try to do some stuff with those bolts, some other stuff? He does have 2 question marks sitting in reserve, of course, as well, so he could conceivably just prevent that damage with the Samantha Wilson Global. The Samantha Wilson Global, let me see if I can read that to you so that you can see the stat lines. We're trying to make sure we get all of the information and the overlays back up so that everyone can see with complete clarity, and right now they're down for a second. So let me read you the Samantha Wilson Global as we pass over. Samantha Wilson Global says, pay a shield, prevent damage to target character die or player, and it prevents 1 damage. So you could technically prevent the ping damage from Magic Missile to Iceman and not have Iceman, and have Iceman deal no damage. You can also do that to your own Shriek here, preventing any of those pings to Shriek makes it so much more expensive to actually KO her using Magic Missile. So we got 5 energy with which to spend. 2 questions, 1 shield, 1 bolt, 1 fist. I would imagine this is one of those moments where you can actually continue to, play your thing with the Shriek blanking the Iceman. Oh, he's gonna pass on over and attack. I think the force attack comes into play here, pushing the Wong, or maybe just keeps pushing the Wong on purpose. Prepping a die, prepping a sidekick die, and the Wong comes right on back. Pulling in rolling 4 plus the 3 that were prepped and or KO'd last turn. Let's see what we end up with. End up with the action die rolled, sidekick on the sidekick face, which is really what you want. Yanti again missed. So we've had 2 misses on Atlantis. We've had 2 misses on Yanti. But again, the nice thing about Yanti is you can use it as bolts. So even if you miss, you can sort of pivot. And that's exactly looking like what we're going to do. Got 3 energy earmarked for something. I'll try to keep the loud talking to a minimum from the guy. Looks like he's going to re-roll those 4 and gets the Yanti to come on back. You could take it either way, and this is a good re-roll and get. You want the Iceman to come free of the Yanti, so you need to find to come free of the Shriek. But if you can't manage that, then you need to find some way to do it to get to that 20 damage. And going the Yanti route is not a bad option. Common Yanti is still a very, very strong card. It's so crazy to think that they printed such a strong card like Common Yanti, and lo and behold, the super rare is even better. And once the super rare is gone, you still have this just powerful Yanti card in common variant. So 3 bolts likely earmarked. Can't really pay them. I don't remember if shields were kept on the other side. If they were, then you can't really pay all 3 of these to KO a Shriek die here. So we'll have to take a look and see that coming up in a little bit. Obviously, an action was played while Yanti was present in the field, was active, and so that Yanti is unblockable. And it does look like it's the 3-1 side because you have to pay to field it. So there's going to be 3 damage coming through unless he hits a little bit less with Samantha Wilson. Thinking about how he wants to spend that bolt.
And this is Rob's team, right? Robert?
I believe so.
Yep, that's his dice tower. I remember this now. Yeah, when I saw his team earlier, I was shocked to see Iceman and Collector on the same team, but it just all makes sense.
Exactly. I mentioned that as we were going. There's a lot of pivot pieces. It's really cool to be able to play something like a Collector and that be like 2 or 3 different control options because your opponent brings the control. You just bring 1 card. They bring 2 or 3 for you to steal from them.
There you go.
Which is not very nice, but it is very strategic. So deciding, I would imagine he'd push the Yanti, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just decides to be content to leave it in the field. He spins the sidekick down to a bolt and then uses the bolt. And one of those energy is then used to prevent said bolt from whatever it was targeting. It's not going to matter. The funny thing, too, is that that Yanti could just take a hit, a single magic missile hit, and get KO'd just like that. Kind of crazy. So it's literally just trading back and forth who's going to use their energy to buy stuff versus who's going to use their energy for globals or prevention of damage from globals. It's a very back and forth matchup.
But as soon as that window is left open for too long, I guarantee someone's going to jump right through it.
All it takes is one poor choice on a reroll or one flippant thought, like you think just too much a little bit about that. It's going to shriek something. Let's see, I would imagine he would shriek Ice. Well, actually, I don't know. He could shriek Iceman. He could shriek really just about anything. Shrieking Yanti isn't a bad option either. But shrieking Iceman works just as well because Iceman is active and Iceman is the most powerful card on that team, I would say.
Yeah. Also, if you shriek Iceman here, Yanti's left unshrieked. But again, with Magic Missile, you can kind of protect yourself from Yanti coming through.
That is very true. Very, very true.
Thank goodness Yanti doesn't have any more defense than she does.
That would be so overtuned it wouldn't be funny. So again, because we're assuming that Shriek went ahead and blanked Iceman, this block won't matter towards the life total.
It's just going to create another ally that Jordo's going to try to field next turn.
Yeah, and line up with the Atlantis, which he's missed 2 out of 3 times.
Wow.
I believe he rolled it but didn't roll characters, or he may have gotten 1 proc off it.
Interesting.
So it's been a slow go. Shriek's back. Yanti's back. Yeah, Iceman, as you can see down there, is shrieked. I would imagine we'd see a reroll on the Yanti. It comes back as double bolt, so at least gives you the energy that you might need, which is very, very good. Plus, you might run into that scenario where you keep those 2 sidekicks and you reroll that Yanti and it comes back on the one side and then you just can't field it, so you can't use one of those Yanti that you roll, which would be really, really poor to make use of, to not make use of a die. He's going to shriek the Shriek, so he took the Iceman Shriek little die off Iceman. So Iceman's back, live and active, He's going to ping something with Thrown Brick, which allows him to prep a die. Perhaps a sidekick. He's got 2 bolts to play with. I'm curious, how, with 3 question marks over on the other side of things, how do you plan to push damage going forward? You have an unblockable Yuan-Ti. We can assume one of those question marks is just going to go to ping off Yuan-Ti on your side.
I agree.
But if you do that, you could also keep that question mark to prevent that damage through the Samantha Wilson Global. Maybe you're content to give that up. Oh, but 2 of those are definitely going to be used to KO Shriek.
Right. I was thinking probably, 1 to Yuan-Ti.
He deals 1. He deals 2. And this is such a really, oh my god, I love what's happening right now. This is such a cool interaction right now because this is very much strategic. You have to assign them 1 at a time, 1 ping at a time, and in between those, you give the control of the action back to the inactive player. So Matt here can just wait to see where he assigns each point, and if he tries to spread it out or do something different or keep 1 back, a question mark, to maybe prevent a portion of damage on the back crack, then he's just telegraphing what he's going to do. So then he decides, and then it's happening back this other direction.
Right.
So he decides to ping 1 magic missile on Shriek. So Shriek's now a 2-1, and the other Shriek's now a 2-2, or 2-1 as well. Both Shrieks are at 2-1, so it's like a game of chicken.
Yep. They don't, he's forcing Matt.
Oh, okay.
He's forcing Matt to decide whether he wants to use this as a protective measure against his own Shriek or a bolt to knock out a character on Robert's side.
So now he has a single question mark with which, after blockers are assigned, to ping a bolt or to prevent a damage. Okay, assigning blockers coming up.
The chicken game continues. That's such a great way to explain
really
it.
Cool.
Yes, again.
So both players well aware of the passing priority ordering and
so
such.
He pings the Iceman, dealing down to 10. He's going to ping the Yuan-Ti so it doesn't go through, and he's going to take the 2 from the Shriek. So that's one way to remove Shriek from the field. You don't have to spin the bolts to ping it. You can just let it go through, take the 2, and remove the Yuan-Ti.
Yeah, and once Robert knew that was happening, he then had the freedom to hit his Iceman 1 time there in the attack step. Here's a Wong, a sidekick, and a Atlantis. Things could get wild pretty quickly here, depending on the rolling of the 2 dice here after a sidekick is fielded. Makes a sidekick with the Professor X Global, which will draw and roll 2 for Matt. Gets another sidekick. So this is where we might see some Black Widows get scooped up so that the whole field can get boosted. Still has 3 allies he can field this turn, which means a draw and roll of 6. Pending he still has that many dice. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a fist to buy Black Widow with. That's what I'm realizing now.
No, he does not. He can fix to a bolt, I believe, is the only thing he can fix to. Interesting to note while he's deciding what he wants to do, Green Devil Mask on his team in this matchup is going to do next to nothing. So when it comes down to it, here in top 8, Matt's built a team that does have a single dead card, which is not a bad thing, because you are supposed to tech, wow, and just rolls a shield. You are supposed to tech to the meta, and if that was the read that he had, then that's the read that he had. Look at this wide board.
Yeah.
What a crazy board.
Just think what a Black Widow would do there, though. If one of his energies was a fist, that's a no-brainer for this turn.
Yeah. And he would have gotten it and rolled it because he had the Atlantis action.
Exactly.
So missing it by that much.
Exactly.
Now he is going to take 2 here just for attacking with all of these because that Iceman is unshrieked.
Well, Robert's Shriek is gone.
Oh,
so
no,
I think,
true. It is back. You're right.
Yep. So Iceman is just purely a blocker at this point.
Yep, you're right.
Jordo does have 1 bolt to kind of play with. I think he may just keep that for Yuan-Ti that's coming through unblocked next turn, especially with his life total where it is. Can't really take too many of those.
No. I wonder if he takes all of this.
Just says, board reset, I'm going to hit you next time.
Well, I mean, it's also a bag fill for Matt.
Yeah.
It puts 6 sidekicks into the bag versus putting 5 sidekicks into the bag. It's a negligible amount of 1 damage.
So we've seen...
No, he's not going to do it.
We've seen him spin down, right? So I imagine he spins the sidekick down here and keeps 3 energy. Because that way he can...
If he spins this one down, then Matt spins his down. Or, sorry, then... is it Robert?
Robert, yeah.
Why did I just blank on that? I guess it's been a long day. Then Robert's going to spin his down.
But having 3 energy for Matt is good because he can...
Oh, he's gonna spin down one of the attackers.
There
and
we
then
go.
let 1 KO.
Interesting. I mean, that's the difference of a sidekick later or a sidekick now.
Sidekick in the bag at 5 versus a sidekick prepped as well.
So the 3 energy is important for Matt Jourdain because he can use a bolt to ping out a Yuan-Ti and still have 2 energy to use Supreme Intelligence and get his Atlantis over to prep for next turn.
But in this matchup, I don't even think that's a possibility.
Because of the global back and forth?
Because you have to keep that aware. Now, he isn't rolling Shriek, obviously, this turn, so the only thing he would really have to worry about is the ping out on his own Shriek. So, like, for example, in this exact roll, where he can spend 5 bolts to
knock out whatever he wants.
To knock out Shriek, then he might have wanted to keep as much in the way of shields as possible to prevent that.
Yeah, I think he has Bolt Mask in his reserve, unfortunately.
Yep, so it may end up coming down, like what you were saying, using that, though it probably isn't what he would like to do. He probably wish he had a couple of shields with which to prevent some damage.
Yeah, not his first choice. Sometimes you just don't get your first choice. But without Shriek coming back this turn for Robert, definitely an opening here for Matt Jourdain.
So he does KO the Shriek there. See that?
Yeah.
Leaving his Iceman open, I believe, for, what, 6 damage? 8 damage if he spins the Psychic down? Unless I'm missing
He's going to
something.
ping it 3 times, and he can't block it, right? Then he'll take 2 more.
Actually, he's going to take everything. I think that's game 1.
I think it is.
Because he just open field, just push with everything.
If you roll enough bolts, you can just knock out... So yeah, knockout Shriek, and then Iceman is free to do his thing.
Oh, he does
here in a
have
minute.
the ability to ping out the sidekicks, but he can push here. I wonder if he spun one of those down. He didn't spin one down. Interesting.
That's the one.
But it doesn't
so game
matter
one.
because that game 1 is just going to go right through.
Again, best
So
of 3
setting
though.
up for game 2. Just because game 1 is down and in favor of the Iceman team does not mean it's all over.
That's right. What sort of is there an adjustment to make? I feel like Jordo's team is fairly set in its ways. It doesn't have a whole bunch of reactionary pieces in terms of the way that you buy or the characters that you get. It's just the little minute reactions of the global passing and the knockout of Shriek or, things we've talked about in game 1.
Right.
So is there anything Robert can do differently, though? Because I feel like his team is more buy order flexible, or even what are you going to purchase flexible? We'll see what happens.
That's a great question.
Matt going to go first here.
Sorry, the numbering at the bottom, the clock reset when I was able to reset our life totals. So we'll keep you an eye out, and we'll keep you up to date on the clock. They have the clock over there, though, I believe. So everything is reset back to normal. He does pick up a turn 1 Iceman.
Standard fare.
What you're looking for. And there was a turn 1 Atlantis purchase as well.
Right, so turn 1 for Matt was perfect. He fields a sidekick and gets his Atlantis, which is great. It's exactly what he wants to do. He is going to resurrect so that he knows exactly what's coming out next turn. He's going to have 1 in the prep and 4 in the bag, which is Atlantis and 3 sidekicks. Robert is taking a turn right now. I imagine he's doing something similar in terms of arranging his bags so that on turn 3 he is fielding Iceman. Last game, I think we saw him purchase a Shriek at this point. So he had Shriek and Iceman and 2 sidekicks coming out of his bag for turn 3. Back over here to Jordo's turn.
And just so we're clear, we went ahead and took away the clock on the bottom there so that no one thought they had more time than they did. The clock is being maintained independently of the one that's scrolling there on the bottom.
There we go. So sidekicks and Atlantis have been rolled.
So this is what he was trying to do in that first game, and then he missed 2 times in a row. I wonder if this is going to make a huge difference because we've seen this team just go insane. And
2
I'm
question
looking
marks.
forward to seeing if it goes off right here, right now.
The idea is on one of these sidekicks,
Feels
you
the
roll
wall, draws
another
2 more.
sidekick.
Yep. Let's see if he gets it. He does not, but he has huge purchasing power right now.
Yep. And, I mean, various energies. You know, he's
going to keep all of it because he knows Iceman. Oh, no, he's going to pass priority. He's going to attack into an open field. Okay. I guess he just dumped a bunch of energy into KOing the 3. Oh, maybe did he play something different?
He just buffed him.
He did. He just went crazy with it.
Which is I mean, if you
9
think
damage.
about it, Iceman, how many damage can Iceman do on this one turn?
Like 8.
Like 8. So by Matt doing 9 right there, he can just stay
It's
on
a race.
pace.
Yes,
right,
it's
he
a
can
race,
stay on
definitely.
pace.
Now the question is, do you reroll the streak and feel more comfortable, or do you just commit to the race? Looks like
I think
he
it goes
oh,
downgrade to 1 bolt.
Oh, it's the Dice Masters thing that happens. You
That
know,
1
the
out of
Dice
6
Masters
chance.
thing, where you're like, no, I really want this character, and 2 bolts is fine, but I think I'll reroll. Oh, it's 1. Okay.
It's 1.
It's
Remember,
Dice
there's that
Masters.
face that only has half the amount of energy on it?
That Dice Masters thing.
Classic. So, not ideal rolls for Matt or Robert thus far.
But he can take it because it's Iceman, and it can deal damage like that chunk after chunk constantly.
There you go.
This is still 4 damage.
He's going to attack, spin that sidekick down, and ping
Boop, boop.
Iceman twice for 4 damage.
Doot, doot, doot. We should have like a little sound. That'd be cool. to play.
A ping noise. Ping!
The 2020.
Pew pew!
Spoiler alert for the 2020 Dice Masters World Championship
There you
stream.
go.
Have a pew pew sound whenever someone takes life.
All right, Atlantis
oh God,
has rolled.
here we go again.
If he gets some sidekicks here, it could be off to the races for sure.
He gets 1. Okay, so that's exactly what you're looking
Progress.
for. And a fist and a bolt. So this is looking like you want to see it. You have
Right.
the option. Now, he's got to chain some stuff. So a Wong or a sidekick here keeps... Oh, and it doesn't hit.
Unlucky.
So 16 to 11, but a sidekick in the field is very, very measly.
Yeah.
This might stall out here.
Stall out, not to time. Stall out into a quick
Stall out
ending
into a quick
to Matt
action.
Jourdain.
Yes, his churn of his bag is going to stall out in this
Yep.
moment. Because
So again, the Atlantis explosion definitely relies on chaining those sidekicks together
Yep.
and surprising your opponent with building a field over 1 turn and then attacking with it.
Yep.
When you miss the sidekicks, though, or when you miss Atlantis, this team scrambles. Like, you literally have to scramble and put things together. The good news is Iceman only has 4 defense.
Well,
so
the
with
other good news-
3 bolts, he can deal 3 during the main step and only take 2
yeah.
during attack here in a minute.
And at least he rolled things that are useful.
True.
Bolts, which you can use to ping out things like Shriek, for example, which did not roll, or Iceman.
Yeah.
Because if you can do that before the attack step, then you're just good to go.
I haven't said this in a while.
Shriek
I
comes
haven't
up.
said this in a while, but I think masks for Jourdain would have been the worst roll.
Well, if he had something in used that time, which he didn't have anything, he could have at least made
Feel
a
his
sidekick,
sidekick.
and in doing so, continued the chain off.
True.
And that was another reason why that whole Atlantis setup wasn't as powerful as it could have been, because literally nothing in the used.
Yep. Which again, if you miss either Atlantis or rolling sidekicks, your bag is officially mucked up. Your game plan is shook, especially when you're against something as punchy as an Iceman team.
Yep.
We'll
So
see
he's
though. He's
hovering
got
at 16.
energy.
I'm curious.
We're officially at the end of Robert's main step. That is why Matt Jourdain gets a chance to activate globals. We'll see if he chooses to do that Supreme Intelligence, because I feel like...
Yeah, you need to pull something out.
Right, I feel like if you don't pull Atlantis next turn, you just lose the game.
It's quite possible. Now, it looks funny because we're saying that and Matt has more life.
Right.
But you look at the board state and there's just nothing going on in,
There it
in the way
is.
that you want. Yep.
Now, damage will be done here.
Oh, and look at this. He's going to push and
Shriek
then
plus a buff.
pump the Shriek. How funny is that? That's
That
hilarious.
awkward moment when Shriek does more damage than pinging your Iceman.
That's hilarious. Does the Iceman ping not deal 2 in that scenario?
It does, but I think
guess
he
does
only had 1
Haymaker-
energy.
Does Haymaker give +1 attack?
Yep.
Okay.
So it'd been 4. It was 4 from Shriek, or maybe 3, or 2 from
Would it
Iceman.
not have been more to ping your Iceman, maybe?
I think he only had 1 bolt though at the end of his turn.
There's a question mark, yeah?
Oh, maybe he had 2. Oh, yeah, question mark.
So here you need something, because it looks like you have more life, but you don't have your win condition set up. You don't have anything on the field.
Yeah.
You need characters, and you need them fast. Unfortunately, he did not roll the Atlantis yet again. Sidekick isn't going to do you much good. Another bolt and a shield is what you're going to keep, and you're just going to say go. And you're going to kind of hope. You're just going to
Again,
kind of hope
even-
that some bolts aren't roll. Oh, okay. And I speak too soon because he rolls a bolt, a sidekick that can be fixed to a bolt, and another sidekick with which to push during the attack step. Now, this is obviously not getting you to 13.
I mean, he has 1 bolt to use Techno. He could make all the rest into bolts.
Yes, you would be able to do
Still
9,
would not
9
get
damage
there, yeah.
with the push on an open field. But those can be prevented with the... I think
Sam
there was at
Wilson.
least 1 shield in the reserve on Matt's side can prevent 1 of those pings. So he keeps the 2 sidekicks. I think that's the right play.
Yep. Set it up for next turn,
Exactly.
which is actually what Matt did on his previous turn. He said, I don't think you can get 11 here, or I don't think you can get 13 here, regardless of your rolls.
Oh, wow. He's going to buy and then prep. So he's not even committing the damage here. I think that's smart because
Yeah.
I think he sees that he's got an advantage. And so rather than just over-committing, trying to get point after point after point, particularly with Matt having energy to sort of slow that down, he says, I'm just going to set up to do a big old bomb
Yeah.
to deal a bunch of damage. Prep
I mean-
a die. That's a Yanti. That's
Yeah,
bolts.
especially when we have potential. I mean, that Yuan-Ti was a pretty high roll pick. I
Yep.
think he put 5 in and pulled 1 out. So,
But he also had a thrown brick in there as well. So,
maybe
so thrown brick, Yanti, 3 sidekicks is not a bad
All right.
odds to pull from. Maybe there were 6.
Matt's got to put it together here.
Okay, maybe.
He needs both Wongs.
Need a sidekick right there.
There-
Well,
hey,
you got a
got
sidekick,
one.
but not the Wong. Okay. So in fielding and doing all of this, you're at least rolling 4 dice. It's
The
gonna-
issue being the use pile is fairly full.
Oh, this is good. Start with a pull the sidekick out.
Well
That's
played.
really, really good.
2 shields.
which is actually pretty
Important,
good in
yeah.
this scenario because they can Samantha Wilson global to keep you alive. So this is shaping up to be a pretty good turn. You do need to buy something like a Black Widow or another Wong is
There's
what he
another
ended up
Wong.
going with. Pays or fields the sidekick. That's going to prep you 2 or draw you 2 and roll them.
All right,
Excuse
Wong
me.
and sidekick, our best rolls here.
Oh,
my.
that's a solid
Let's
pull.
see it.
Now there is another Atlantis that he can cycle to with 1 more field. Oh, he's going to continue.
The problem is he has
You
to
do the
cycle through
field-
his whole bag before he can get a purchased die rolled this
Correct.
turn.
You do the free to field 1 first, so you can save your energy. He's going to draw 2 more. Looks like they're both the amber-colored sidekicks. 2 fists, and that means he has 1 more trigger.
It's kind of a whammy.
1 more trigger. Let's see what he gets. It's going to pay. I would imagine to pay a single fist. Oh, maybe he's going to buy first. That seems strange. What's in the bag? I guess.
Maybe he has 1 in
Maybe
the bag.
there's 1 in the bag. There has to be 1 in the bag.
So this
Pay
is
the
no guts,
shield
no
to
glory
field.
here.
Oh, he's really going to go for it because
Yeah.
he's gonna roll Atlantis and.
Oh my gosh.
Now the Atlantis isn't going to matter.
In fact,
in
double
this
shields would have
scenario.
been much better.
Would have been much better. Yeah, definitely. He is going to have a sizable board and be able to push. There's no Shriek active, so anything that is blocked by that Iceman is going to deal 2 damage. But everything here just got buffed by +1/+1. So those sidekicks are 2/2s. Oh, and he's going to take a moment to just bring that down. KO the sidekick with the Magic Missile Global. There's no counterplay in the reserve pool for Rob.
So lots of stats here. I don't imagine it's 11 though, unfortunately.
Well, especially with the blocker.
Right.
He's just going to throw it all at him. I think you have to commit.
This is the game
I
plan,
don't think
yeah.
if you just sit down, it's not going to help. If he only had paid... No, I guess he's going to use the fist for the Haymaker pump. But I'm curious. I don't know if I would have committed the shield instead of the fist to go for this all-out pump. I guess you could have just won on this turn, so maybe that is the right call.
To buy the Black Widow is what you're saying?
Had that go. But I might have kept a shield because to me it seems like there's more chance for you to die on the backswing and not get the finish right here than anything else. So when the damage is dealt simultaneously, there's going to be 2 that Matt Jourdain takes at least. 2 at least. The rest of this would deal a pretty sizable amount of damage too. Looks like it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage. Putting Rob at 4 if I counted correctly.
Bingo.
Yep. And it is going to KO Iceman.
He's going to say, let me watch you.
Did he pump with that fist?
I do not know that.
That's interesting. I didn't count the fist in that, and the life total says the same. Oh.
Shriek and Yuan-Ti.
Now we can't see if...
But no action.
We can't see if Iceman rolled either. It did not. It came up
single bolt.
No action. Okay, this is an interesting turn. This is sort of a pivotal turn to complete this round 2. Or this
Do you reroll Shriek here? You try to go double bolts and make it happen? Oh my gosh.
That's a really good
I think
question.
I would have rerolled Shriek there, potentially.
Well, let's see. I mean, you can just push all of this as attackers.
That is also very true.
It's not an empty board, but it's a 1 blocker board. And if
with a bolt...
that's 3...
Or no, 4, there's one Wong in the
9,
field.
10. There's 10 damage on play here. And you can use the thrown brick during the attack step to hit your own Iceman.
To hit your own Iceman. I think it's going to be just perfect.
That's probably going to be game. He fixed the sidekick, right? I think he had a sidekick.
Yep. To pay fielding costs.
Correct. So if you push it with everything and the Shriek gets blocked, then you're only pushing... or even the Yuan-Ti gets blocked, but I would imagine it would be the Shriek that gets blocked.
Well, Yuan-Ti won't be able to be blocked here once this action gets played.
Right, but if you play it during the
if you play it during attack
portion,
step, yeah, that's true. She's already assigned a blocker.
Looks like he is thinking about playing it down, though. It's interesting, though, because I think it might be... This is a very cool lethal puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Is this lethal in this scenario? He's just going to pop the Wong there and then draw
Use the attune damage.
Yep, attune to drop him to 10. I wonder if this would have been lethal. I guess he wants to push the Yuan-Ti unblockable no matter what. We know it's a 3-3 Shriek, and we know it's a 3-6 Iceman, and we know it's a something, a 3-3 Yuan-Ti. Yuan-Ti's unblockable at this stage. You want the Iceman to go through.
Yeah, if Yuan-Ti gets blocked here...
Well, Yuan-Ti can't get blocked. A Shriek gets blocked, right?
Well, I'm saying if we would have waited for Thrown Brick, it would have been less damage. Because Yuan-Ti would be blocked instead of dealing that 1 attune damage.
No, I disagree. Because the attune damage is always triggering. One of those characters was going to be blocked. If Yuan-Ti was not unblockable, then it could have been that one. But it would have been Shriek would have gone through.
Uh-huh.
And if Yuan-Ti is unblockable, Shriek gets blocked. And Yuan-Ti goes through. So no matter what, you're taking 3 there as Matt. The other question is if you push everything.
Right.
A 3-6.
It's 3-3-3.
Yeah, there's 3 3-3s, right? One of them gets blocked. That's 6. Then you hit 7 and 8. No, so Matt would have been alive at 3 if I counted if my math is correct.
Okay. I just knew it wasn't lethal. I think if we waited.
Right.
There's Black Widow. Doesn't have the pump, or doesn't have any other characters to pump.
That might just spell it. One character as a blocker.
And again, this is the turn I was talking about with this exact team. If you don't have an Atlantis, if your Atlantis and your sidekicks don't line up, you get a turn like this where you just say, well, I can buy a lot of things to chain together next turn.
Is Parallax still in this format? Can we just Parallax real quick? That's what he's thinking right now.
Yeah.
Man, I know I don't like Parallax too much, but right now, I think I would
I'll pay this fist to Parallax.
Please and thank you.
Yeah.
And look at this. There's no shields either.
Yeah, I think this is
pretty
close to being in the books.
Turn. Yeah. This might have been it. 5 fists. Do you think he'll let the?
Push with Black Widow and
Black Widow
buff
go through
it
unblocked?
+5.
Now, I don't think you ever concede or anything like that
No,
here because
top
they
8
still,
of worlds.
Well, they still have to roll it too because they could have just a roll like this.
Very true.
He passes over.
Very true.
Let's see what he draws. Got a bolt.
He has to get a
That
Yanti
he's
here
going
to
psychic.
ensure it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Let's see if he rolls it.
Now, he could just roll
No characters.
fist. Okay.
Yanti, but no action.
No action, but it's at 7.
And he has a sidekick.
And he's got several bolts. And no shriek to stop the.
Yeah,
stop
I think
the
he's
plan.
going to
So,
remove the blockers
I
with
think
the
there's
bolts.
a lot of ways you get lethal here.
This is not
Even
a
if
lethal
you
puzzle.
even if you just keep this one, I think you're probably getting there.
This one's less puzzly.
Probably just getting there
You
on
just
this one.
Pay a mass to field.
I think you could do it
Ping
without
out the Black Widow.
You could do it without even going on. I mean, just pushing the Iceman and pinging twice puts him to 1.
And then what are you going to do? Block Iceman or
Yeah.
let him through?
You block Iceman, he goes to 1. You have to block Iceman. So any other damage after that is just over.
But well played all around. I mean,
It's gonna
that's
pop
how that.
there.
It's high risk, high reward with those Atlantis teams, and I'm glad to see.
Attune damage, I imagine, just goes
Top
to
8.
the blocker, and then you just push the damage.
Ping it out, push the damage.
3, 6, 7, 8 damage. Not the hardest lethal puzzle in the world.
No,
there.
that one wasn't.
No.
That wasn't as tough.
But a solid showing overall.
We do see knockout.
Oh, he did have some.
Oh, I didn't even see a bolt over.
But again, it's
Jordan.
not going to matter because he can always spin one of those attacking sidekicks,
Yeah.
and you can hit 8 for right here, and that's before attackers.
We just got
go
done
through
talking
and do
about how
damage.
easy this puzzle was.
Yeah, look, it's still easy.
There it is.
It's not much more difficult. Good games all around. So that is the best of 3.
Robert is moving on to round of 4.
And I think they squeaked it in before time.
The end of the road for Mr. Matt Jourdain. Well played by both players. Super
Yes,
fun to watch.
That was a fun match. That was a fun match.
You know, I've said it today already. Those Atlantis teams that just start with nothing and then end the turn with 14 damage is it blows my mind.
But here's the thing, too. They're very high rolly.
And so you do have to sort of rely that you're going to hit when you need to hit. And when you miss, like you mentioned multiple times, when you miss, it just misses.
Yeah, you flop.
Yeah.
But he did have the globals on his team to make his flops, mitigate his flops a little
Agreed,
bit.
Totally. Not only that, but he had the globals on the team to tech exactly against this matchup.
I agree,
And it just
yeah.
didn't work out right there at the end. So kudos to both
I mean,
players.
if
because
Wong
that
was on
really,
a different
really
side,
solid one.
if Wong was on a different side for that big attack, who knows? Great play from
Right.
both players.
Right. They did a
though.
solid job. Look at them there, packing their stuff up, using their Zin bins and their custom 3D printed dice trays.
And
if you don't
tokens
know,
by Reg.
Yeah, right. If you don't know, Matt Jourdain actually 3D prints these. You should check it out. Maybe throw some money at him. He'll print you one. They are great. He gave me one. I actually paid him for it, but he gave it to me, and it was solid. I love that thing.
Holds all the dice you need and all the cards you need for one team, right?
It's great for you can stack up a ton of cards. It's
Oh,
more
solid.
than just It's more than just that, but it works great for sleeved cards.
yeah, enough room for tokens in there.
Yeah, exactly. And you got more than enough for this this dice tray to go in with it. Slots in really nicely. Really, really solid. Good guy, that Matt Jourdain. Good guy.
That's right.